Thanks for joining. It's my pleasure to host this AMA with Sherida, who joined us as a VP of Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging. She has a technical background, graduated at Howard University with a study in electrical engineering, joined Intel, did sales and marketing, made the jump to, oh, this is not an AMA. Thank you for telling me that, because AMAs, we don't do presentations, and this is kind of like a presentation. She then at Intel went into did that at Lyft as well, and I'm very excited to have her on board. Apart from what she does for us, she is also on multiple not-for-profit boards. And let's start off with the two truths and a lie. Sherida, and maybe people think along, and in the chat you can post what you think is the lie.
You want me to read them or just leave it, let them go ahead and read?
We do a kind of reenactment, although this one is a bit strange. I don't think we've ever written out a fireside chat before. So that's new, but we reenact them, and that's so that people who are just watching the recording can see it. Maybe they're watching that someplace where they can read the doc. And also sometimes you add a bit more information and a bit more emotion in your voice and tone. So feel free to reenact your answers.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you, Sid, for having me here, and welcome everyone from wherever you are in the world. I'm super excited to be here. First one, Sherida is a collegiate, state, and regional swimmer, a champion in the 5100 and 2 free, which is where her daughter gets her swim abilities and all her accolades. Second, Sherida experienced a near-death swimming experience in shark-infested waters off the coast of Bora Bora. Third, Sherida has a side hustle doing voiceovers for commercials for nationally recognized companies.
Put your guesses in the chat, everybody.
So feel free to verbalize your guess with a logic. We've got a lot of onesies and twosies. Anybody want to verbalize their guess?
Michael's funny.
I think 2 is a lie.
I heard, that sounded like Darva.
Yeah, that was Darva, wherever I am.
Three,
I think 2 is a lie.
3 is too cool to not be true. Like 3 is, and like I heard her talking just now. That's a good voice. So I really think, I think 2 is, I think 3 is the truth, and that makes me think 2 is the lie, because 1's really cool too. I don't know.
Yeah, I think 2 is a lie as well.
Picking any of them kind of takes a very cool fact away from you, so I'm kind of afraid to choose one.
This is starting off great. So we have a lot of, couple of ones.
I'm going to put my guess into Sherida. I think they're all pretty cool, so I suspect that all of them are true. But then the first one is overly specific, so it would be like, it wasn't the 50, 100, and 200. It was just the 50 and 200 or something like that. Or it wasn't the freestyle, but another swimming style or something like that. I suspect that.
So Sid says 1, and then we had a bunch of other ones, but most of you said 2, and then a couple of people said 3, so that we can keep the party going. The lie is number 1. I can swim, but I am not an athlete. My husband is actually a water polo player and swam in college, which is where my daughter gets it from. I did almost drown off the coast of Bora Bora. I was in a boat and was traveling in the boat. I didn't realize the boat was getting further and further away, and everyone else had gone off to do an excursion. And so I was literally by myself trying to swim back to the island. And yeah, it was shark infested. So number 1's the lie.
Oh,
so I'm glad it stumped everyone.
You pulled that off really nicely.
Thank you.
What are the national brands or companies that you that we would recognize that you voice over for?
Hi, Adrian. And it's been a while. I'll give you one. Nationwide was one I did. And that was just kind of an offshoot. Somebody sent it to me, and I ended up getting quite a few residual checks from that. and then IBM, places like that, because I lived east.
Cool.
And a lot of times they want no accent, which I don't really know what that means. Everyone has an accent.
Yeah.
But yeah, so IBM nationwide, that's a couple.
Very cool.
Thanks for that. You graduated from Howard University with a Bachelor in Science in Engineering. Can you tell us a bit about how you got from engineering to diversity, inclusion, and belonging?
Yeah, I'd love to tell everyone that I was very strategic in deciding to go from engineering to sales and marketing into DIB, but it actually was a unique story. As I was doing internships and co-ops, et cetera, I realized that me sitting in a cubicle coding and doing things like that was I really needed to be more communicative, which brought me to sales and marketing. And what was interesting there is I did quite a bit. I dabbled in mid-market, large enterprise, but my claim to fame was breaking Lenovo, which was a Chinese-based company, into the US retail market. So that was my first really endeavor with dealing with different cultures and making sure that you understand from a business perspective, how do you have a Chinese-based retail company really try to break into US retail with a product that was $1,100-$1,200 in a market of $200-$300 PCs. So that was the first. And then really things were going so well. And for multiple years, I had managers that kept submitting me for promotion, but my leader just kept turning it down. And when I tried to have conversations around what are my gaps in skill set, et cetera, I was just told, we're not promoting you. Okay, so at that point, I really needed to decide, number one, was I going to leave the company? Number two, was there somewhere else that I could go where I could actually have and use my transferable skills, or could I just transfer onto a different team? I decided that I had gotten pretty much all I could out of sales and marketing, and someone tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, we're spending quite a bit of money on reaching full representation for our underserved communities. I knew a little bit about employee resource groups, of course, here, TMRGs, because I started two of them within sales and marketing, one for millennials and one for Black and African Americans, really to give them voice and access and an opportunity to engage with our leadership. And it was that very thing that allowed me to venture into inclusion and diversity. It was a very big leap of faith because I was not from an HR background. I was an engineer that knew, how to run a line of business, and then I decided to get into DIB. So it really was just taking a leap of faith when the opportunity presented itself. Sorry, that was long-winded.
No, that was great, and this is your chat. This is not an AMA, so we can do whatever we want. Maybe you have something else to share that people should know about you.
Well, so really, although love what I do every day, and I'm sure, most of us do, being able to translate that into my personal life has really been fulfilling for me. So as you mentioned, I serve on some nonprofit boards, most of them in a community service or philanthropic way. So there's one organization that I deal with called Jack and Jill of America Incorporated. And that really is a mother's organization that helps Black and African American children learn things that we don't learn in school, that they don't learn in school. So whether that's financial literacy, philanthropy, community service, et cetera. And so it really is in my spare time that I build programs where I help underserved youth, whether it's from a STEM capacity or, for instance, we're dealing with foster care this year. And a lot of children that are aging out of foster care don't really know what to do next. And so we partnered with agencies all across the far west region, so up from Alaska all the way down, and are providing opportunities for them, whether it's clothing, engagement with community colleges, opportunities for transitional housing, really connecting them to organizations that give them an opportunity after they age out. So those kinds of things really give me life. Even after I leave here, it's kind of what I do in my spare time. And the other reason that I do it is I think that, you know, my child, I have one daughter, and she needs to understand from where she comes, as well as opportunities that she's afforded not everyone has. And so doing community service gives her an opportunity to see how blessed she is. And so I want to ask you a question. Am I able to, can I do that?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So one of the things that I loved about when I came here was you had a similar mindset around giving and foundation, and you've set up the GitLab Foundation as well as your own, right, personal foundation. So when you think about those, and then a year from now, so we're sitting in 2023, April 2023, what's success for you?
Yeah, thanks for that. And I should add the URL. So I'll link to the foundation document. Oh, you already linked. Oh my goodness, this is too good. We're kind of overachieving here. I wrote down success in 1 year, and someone actually already contributed to it. So that was cool. There's 3 things listed. Success in 1 year is establishing operations, legal, routine, staffing, attracting the team. Make maximum impact against the North Star metric. The North Star metric is lifetime earning potential growth per dollar spent. And being able to measure the impact, which is not trivial to measure, like, okay, how did we affect people? And you also asked, like, how does it differ from my personal foundation? My personal foundation doesn't have operations. There's nobody there. There's no CEO. There's no team running it. So that means you cannot do anything yourself. You can only do gifting. With the GitLab Foundation, we want to do operations. We want to run some of these things ourselves. And the ones that are successful, we might spin out. And then when we spin them out, it's going to be easier for them to attract external funding and things like that. So it's kind of almost a startup studio for new foundations. Because the foundation doesn't have operations, you only do gifting, you don't do effect measurement. And also you're able to keep, you don't have to focus as much. With the GitLab Foundation, I think we got to be pretty strict in sticking to the purpose, like increasing people's earning potential through training and access to opportunities. Because if you go all over the map, you're going to have less learnings that help you kind of optimize the next idea, optimize the next thing you're spinning out. And so far the foundation, my personal foundation has done $5 million to the Open Research Basic Income Project, a project originating out of Y Combinator, where they test the effect of so-called universal basic income. 1,000 people are getting $1,000 per month for 3 years, and that's going to be compared to kind of another group. And see what the effects of that are. We're getting more and more income disparity in the world, and universal basic income seems like a promising way to mitigate some of the effects of that. But we don't have a ton of data, and it will cost a lot of money. So the idea is here to get that data. Another donation has been to Signal. It's a private messaging app, and it's not via the foundation, but I'm spending some time and money on globalincomecoin.com.
It's really one of the reasons I came here. Being able to see a foundation started from the ground up, and I didn't even know about your personal, but being able to learn and understand how that goes from cradle to, and not grave, but really starts and builds momentum was another thing that was really intriguing about GitLab for me.
Well, I'm glad I was able to help convince you to join. You're in your first month. Can you share some of what you've seen, where we're doing well, where are opportunities to improve?
So first of all, it really is invigorating when you come somewhere and everyone is excited about what you do. Whenever you speak to someone about diversity, inclusion, and belonging, everyone says they're excited, but you can truly feel the swell here. Everyone was excited that I got here. And, I keep telling people, they're like, we're so excited you're here. And I'm like, talk to me in 30 days, in a quarter from now. And if I've done something that's impacting our organization where everyone is clear on what it is that we're doing from a DIB perspective, and it really starts to filter down into the lines of business, then that to me is when people should get excited. But I love that fact. Some of the things that you all are doing very well is there's a lot of great TMRGs here. I've sat on a couple of your reverse AMAs, and I think there's a great opportunity there. There's really the groundswell to make some things happen. And I think just a little bit of governance is gonna, kind of take it from where it is today to even that next level with the TMRGs. I think that we have great intention around all the things that we're measuring today, right? For underserved communities, et cetera. And so my goal, really my North Star, is how do we ensure that the developer community understands what GitLab is? How do we differ from anyone else that's out there? And then how do we ensure that there's more what I call co-opetition for talent? Because we're all fighting for the same talent, right? But how do we start to align, talk, have some roundtables with some of the others that are in the developer community to understand how do we identify talent, bring in talent, progress talent. And then if there's not a fit, maybe it's for one of our as I call co-opetition or competitors. So I think those are some of the things that we really are doing well, but we have an opportunity to take it to the next level. Where do I see opportunities? As I just said, how do I ensure that a quarter from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, the 2,000 people that are here, about 2,000 people that are here, all understand what DIB is, and not a silo, but that it is woven into everything that we do. And you all have already started that with credit, right? And our values. It's how do I make sure that as I'm talking to every division, that we have a clear strategy on how do we take what we're doing at the 10,000 foot corporate level, drive that down to the 5,000 foot level of each division, and then the groundswell of how our TMRGs and some of the initiatives that we have around progressing our talent really filter through each of our divisions. So I think that that's big. And then the second thing that I'll say is diversifying styles here, right? I love how orderly everything is. I'm a big advocate for agendas, right? And making sure that we don't waste people's time, that we actually have things to talk about when we get into a meeting. But for me personally, I am a verbal type of person. And so I may have something in the agenda, or I may have read something in the agenda as it's going down, and it sparks something else that I want to talk about. And there's been a couple of instances where it's like, well, the meeting's over. And I'm like, oh, okay. So how do we make sure that oddballs like me feel included, or that we belong? And I think there's a really good marriage of where we are today and not going all the way to the extreme and changing the culture, but finding a happy medium so that diversifying our styles really has an impact of bringing in that belonging and inclusive feeling.
Thanks for that. We'll go to some attendee questions. Joaquin, you have the first one.
Joaquin, I added this from the chat, so you might not have known I put it there. But you did ask in the chat live, how did she make it back to the island or boat, Sherida, from your story about Bora Bora?
I swam. I do believe that I took on so much water as I was swimming, because it wasn't a matter of whether I could swim, but we had drifted so far out, I was exhausted. And if anyone knows anything about swimming, it is rigorous. And so if you're not somebody that swims every single day, having to swim the distance that I did, it took everything out of me. And so I did swim. I just took on a lot of water and a lot of praying. So thank you for the question, Joaquin.
Thanks for that. Nima.
Yeah, thank you, Sid. Sherida, we're very excited to have you here and really look forward to how we can help you. I guess my first question is, what are we doing well at GitLab that you've been witness to, and what should we be aware of to continue doing?
So I think one thing that you all are doing well is you've elevated this role. A lot of what DIB is access, and that's access to eGroup, that's access to each of the leaders, access to all of the different facets, whether it's TMRGs, et cetera, but really being able to have stakeholders that buy into what it is we're trying to do. And I have not met one leader yet. I'll be scheduling a one-on-one with you, Nima, but really having those conversations around DIB, where they see DIB, or even for those that don't know, having that humility to say, look, I don't know, I want to do it, you know, help us. That is not something you see every day. A lot of times organizations are, I got this, right? Or I think yesterday on the Latinx reverse AMA, it was, we hit a goal, right? So it's all about just numbers. You hit that goal, everybody's patting themselves on the back and you move on. But DIB is a journey, and there's going to be people we hire, there's going to be attrition, there's going to be progression or lack thereof, there's going to be issues around internal mobility. How do we make sure that we identify those, base it in data, but really put some strategies in there that help us to move the needle? And that is one of the things, another thing that I love about GitLab is iteration. I very much struggle with, it's got to be perfect before I put it out there, right? And it does not. I think Sid told me when I was talking about our underrepresented groups and the way we define it, just put it out there, you know, just merge it, get it out there. And I'm like, I really struggled because I know there's some things that we need to tweak, but I did it anyway. And so that to me sets you up for success, because it's not I put a strategy out there and it has to be perfect. We iterate and we base it in data. We base it in understanding the industry and our customers, and then we iterate as we need to. Does that answer your question?
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Tabo.
Yeah, actually, I was just commenting on the Jack and Jill. That was, a great program. I never knew about Jack and Jill, until my wife started. Her manager asked her, "Oh, your husband is from South Africa. Can you have him talk about, his experiences in South Africa versus, the United States?" Of course, anybody that knows me, I love to talk about South Africa. I love to talk about my experiences, in the United States. And so that was great. And I ended up actually being a commentator on their program as to, okay, now you see this, this is where you are. Normally this would be this, normally this would be that. And they were really, really excited about that. And I would really encourage anyone here, not only, the Jack and Jill, but any other program that, uplifts, youth or, underrepresented youth. Like we have a program with, We Think Code in South Africa, or Girls Who Code, whatever the case may be, to really do that. It'll really make your life worthwhile.
Agreed, Tabo. And the one thing I'll say about that is, because it's based on chapters in each state, and sometimes there's multiple ones in the city, it gave me an opportunity to move from Raleigh, North Carolina to Phoenix and have 65 families that I had access to that were Black or African American. And that helped to really solidify us in Arizona. So that's another really great thing. And as kids grow up and they go to a school that may be out of where they're from, those families help to connect and give them a home outside of their home.
Thanks for that. Last question by PJ.
Hi. So I'm a big believer in art as a way to empathize. It's the way I used to teach literature when I was a high school English teacher. I was like, this is art we're experiencing in order to experience a point of view we wouldn't get to otherwise. And so I was wondering if you had some work of art, and it could be any kind of art, any kind of creative work that you think more people should view or listen to or experience.
Oh, and I think art as you just said, could be many different things to many different people. Art, there's so many things. I right now, because of what we do day to day, I really am into more comedic right now because I need something that's less heavy, even though it still is heavy. If you've never listened to, and he's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but Hassan Minaj, he is a stand-up comedian, but he talks a lot about things that are funny, haha, but they are truth and they really are around some of the discrepancies we see in the world, right? So it's what you're into. I love dance, you know, every time Dance Theater of Harlem or the ballet, something like that comes, and I'm a massive theater buff. So every time Rent comes to town, they're doing their farewell tour. So I have, I'll say fortunately, I wasn't just engineering, I wasn't STEM, I was STEAM, because I believe arts is the opportunity to improve our communication skills, because a lot of time engineers, we do well when we're talking engineering, but then when we have to communicate outside of that, it really is a struggle. And right now, having the technical skills is only one piece of what companies are looking for, right? It's that communicative piece, and the arts really help with that.
Thanks for this, and thanks for the wonderful chat, Sherida. Glad to have you on board.
Oh, are we done?
We're done.
Oh, wow, that was quick. Thank you, Sid. I appreciate it. And you all reach out anytime.
All right. Good. Thanks, Sherida.